The latest football prizes competition offers you a chance to win some fantastic West Ham related prizes. The latest is a signed and framed Crescencio Somerville West Ham boot display. Every ticket purchased for this draw at £3.95 a ticket also gives you the chance to win 14 instant prizes, as well as the chance to win a signed shirt from fellow new signing Luis Guilherme. The draw ends on Wednesday, the 14th of August at 7:30 p.m. and the live draw will be made on Thursday, the 15th of August at midday. There are only 165 tickets available for this great prize, so go to footballprizes.co.uk website for details and terms and conditions. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice. Yes, I put that up so I didn't have to do it during the show because I know I'd forget. So, if you're a football prizes devotee, go and buy a ticket and see if you can win that wonderful prize. Anyway, good evening. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you're all well. The first thing I've got to do is say a very big thank you. 7,000 subscribers during last week's show. Got to that stage during the show last week. So thank you all. Really much appreciated. And I did have a spice rum or two at the weekend and felt all the worse for it. But I really, really appreciate it. And if you've yet to become a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Do become a subscriber of the channel. It costs you nothing to subscribe and it costs you nothing to watch my content because it's all free apart from the stuff that went on just before, but that's not me getting that money. Anyway, thank you so much. And before I talk about the serious business of transfers, etc., I've got to talk about what happened at the weekend. Of course, we had the Betway Cup against Celta Vigo. Something like 15,000 fans, the official attendance was announced. We don't know how many of those tickets were given away for nothing. There's a suspicion there was about 2,500 tickets given away for nothing. So not condemning, should I say, any fans that paid to go, because I bought a ticket, but I decided in the end not to go. But this is all about, people boycotting the game because of the whole issue with concession tickets or the club taking concession tickets away. The proposal to remove concession tickets for bands 1 to 4 for teenagers, under 21s, and also for OAPs. Now, if you've yet to sign the petition, you go to change.org and type in oppose season ticket, and you'll find the petition. Do sign it. It hit over 16,000 signatures during last week, sorry. And we want to get that to 20, 25, even more, and really send a message out to West Ham United board that removing concession tickets is just not the dumb thing. If you'd have seen some of the tickets that have been advertised for the first few games of this season at home, you'd be aghast. £100, £115 for a ticket for an adult, same price for an OAP, same price for a kid's ticket as well. It's just not on. So do go and sign that petition when you get a chance. And of course, I'm sure you're all dying to hear, as of now, I know it says deal done there, but as of now, he's not yet signed. That's what I was told. Now, I know Romano and one or two others have gone ahead and gone all done and dusted. I'm sure it will get done and dusted. I'm sure it will happen. I'm sure it'll be announced, if not tonight, definitely tomorrow. But at this moment in time, Aaron Wan-Bissaka it's yet to be confirmed that he's signed that contract. Now, I am waiting for a message to say all done, but I have asked about 3 times, and I'll only piss people off if I keep asking. So as of 9:20, it's not yet done. But never fear, I don't think there's going to be anything wrong. I'm sure it's going to be done. He's had his first part of his medical this morning. I think he had the second part today as well. And we're just waiting for that signature to be announced. But don't worry, people. I'm sure it'll be all done and dusted. Hang on. I've just got a message saying, when Dartmouth says it's done, it's done. Given that I don't have a Sky subscription, I'm relying on someone to listen out to Dartmouth chef to tell us all when it's done. Apparently not yet. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you haven't melted in this absolute heat. I don't give a damn. I absolutely love it. The hotter, the better. Mind you, if you can hear a noise in the background, that's because the fan's on, because I'm sweating with all the lighting and everything. It's pretty bloody hot in here. Let's see who's in the chat, shall we? And then we go into the show itself. And we've got, as usual, we'll scroll all the way up and say hello to people. Always say hello to the first person. Oliver, you made it here first with the possibility of more incoming. Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about that as well. Good evening, usual. Good evening, Shaky. How are you? Good evening, Toha. How are you? We'll still jump on the bandwagon and notify us of a change to the channel. No. What change to the channel? I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, no changes to the channel. Same usual, boring me. So make do with it. Scott, good evening. Who would I keep on all the new signings? Alvarez, Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, Emerson, the rest. I don't care what happens. They can all get sold other than our youth. Be careful. I missed Areola. We all do miss Areola. Oh, hang on. We're not selling out. Oh, good. You mean you missed Areola as in keeping him. Good evening, Hammerette. For God's sake, I thought I was going to be the first one. And you're all wrong. I told you, this is a new me. I no longer come on late. 21-19, 2020 and all that. No, I start on time-ish. Good evening to you, Sean. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Tevez. How are you? 21. Anthony, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Probably arrive at 21. Well, I could have waited for the message to come out to say all done and dusted. Then I could have gone live. But, would have kept you waiting. I might have ended up keeping you waiting until midnight. James, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening, Mark. How are you? From the Northern Hammer, I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Daniela, how are you? Looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward. I think we all are, aren't we? Looking forward to the season. It's going to be wonderful. Good evening to you, Mark. How are you? Omorodian, now his transfer to Chelsea's collapsed. Do you know what? I haven't actually included him in the list. Because I'm just not sure. I could be completely wrong. We could go in for a loan to buy deal. Could possibly do, but I haven't actually included him in the list. But, maybe that'd be my error. Anthony, Zuma is going to complete his transfer, whatever the result of his medical. They want him. They want to get rid of him. End of. Yes, they absolutely do. Good evening to you, Gary. Looking forward to seeing you, mate. I hope you're well. And like I said, everything's sorted. Good evening to you, Dexter. How are you? Here's hoping to get off to a cracking start this weekend with a result. Hope to see you next Saturday at Palace. I'll be there. I'll be at Palace and Fulham and all the other away games, and maybe not Brentford, because the missus has decided to have her birthday party on the same day. How'd you get out of that? Party, yeah. I'm just going to the football first, and I'll see you there. I don't think that's going to happen, do you? Anthony, Dexter, you'll be watching the wrong game because we are playing Villa. Lee, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I heard if Zuma does eventually fail his medical, he remains at West Ham. They might make him coach. I hope it's a 54-seater. What a transfer window for West Ham fans. Absolutely superb, isn't it, Gatesy? Unbelievable. Dexter again. What about you? What you on about? No, you argue about the fixtures. I'll carry on with saying hello. Andy, how are you, mate? Looking forward to this upcoming. Do you remember? I got excited. I think I said it in last week's show. I got quite excited when we had the Pellegrini £100 million spend. And I thought, wow, this is good. And I can't lie. This is even better by a country mile. This is even better. Who else have we got? Juha, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Andrew. How are you? Good evening, Hammers. Gary, how are you? And how are you, mate? Steve as well is here. Happy Hammer 71. Good evening to you. Be careful with all these happy Hammer and all that. I'm going to get confused. You need to change your names. Ricky, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Chris. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. And to you, Howard, as well. Good evening, James. I hope you're well too. Mr. Irons 80. Good evening to you. I hope you're well as well. Good evening to you, Ed. How are you, mate? And good evening, Peter. How are you? Still on the stair lift? Still on the stair lift. Um, is that to me? No, what's their lift? Good evening, Omar. How are you? And good evening to you, Martin, as well. Omar, good evening to you. Despite having all these players coming in, pundits predict we come ninth at the end of the season. Let them predict what they want. Let them, let them. I think I saw something on, was it Twitter earlier today, about people sort of giving their first 11 transfer signings so far. Not one West Ham player was in that first 11 transfer signings. Football Prize is doing hostage videos now. I hope it was a marginally better than that one. Good evening, Lee. How are you? Good evening to you, Epic. I hope you're well. And good evening to you, Paul, as well. Garino, good evening to you. So-called pundits keep overlooking us. Just bang on about the usual suspects. Let them. I don't mind that. We'll get on with our business and let them, continue to say that, so-and-so is going to win the league and the top four are going to be the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea, etc. We might end up surprising a lot of fans, a lot of pundits this season. Good evening, Dan. How are you? Good evening to you, Vinny. How are you, mate? Has AW signed? X saying no. He is correct. My messages so far are saying it will happen, but as at this moment in time, you see what happens is, with the greatest of respect to the ITKs, and I'm not on about X, but I'm on about the Romanos and all that sort of stuff, is they do get given information. There's no doubt about that. Everyone gets given information. It's everyone that wants to try and get there first, and it just gets a little bit tedious and a little bit boring at times. When it happens, it will happen. It's wonderful to announce it first, but at this moment in time, X is correct. Sean Whetstone's correct. It has not yet been announced. And the reason why I mentioned Dartmouth earlier on is the message I got is because he'll get it direct from the horse's mouth. And once he says it's done, that means it's done. Good evening to you, Joan. How are you? We're back in the room. Hello, still looking forward. Thank you, Joan, and I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got? Nick, thank you so much. You do not have to, but I'm really, really back with the farts. Mate, it doesn't take much to please you. I might do a show just fine. How much money could I make out of that, Nick? Let's not go down that road. Fake Dad, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining as well. Who else have got? Good evening to you, Ralph. How are you? I signed the petition and I'm in Spain. Good evening. Please do sign that petition. The club have got to stop this. They want fans of the... Who do they think they're targeting by charging £100 even for kids' tickets? Who can afford that? I find that really, really bizarre. I think it's really sad. Garino, AWB sign. Well, what's your source? Because I've not yet been told at this moment in time, but I'll make you right. If you're right, well done. David, who was your contact that gave the Duran exclusive? That weren't me. That weren't my show. Please, people, I had this a couple of weeks ago. Do not mix me up with someone else who runs a completely different channel. That was not me. It was not the West Ham voice. Do I still trust him? I don't know who to trust because it wasn't me. Anyway, let's carry on. Neil, how are you? I hope you're well. Epic Dirtbag Dartmouth gets his information straight from the Gremlin. He does. Kim Joe, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Went to the shop today, near shut myself. Oh, you nearly shut. I thought you nearly shat yourself near the freezer. I thought, fuck me, mate. What are you up to? I'm sorry. I nearly shut myself in the freezer. Big sigh. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Ian. How are you, Paul? Hi, Kai. Good evening to you from Melbourne. I hope you're well. I bet it ain't as hot there as it is here. Are you jealous? Oh, God. Don't worry. It only lasts for about 3 days and we'll be getting back to it pissing down with rain again. Keith, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Bolagala, diganisisi. Bolagala. Oliver, Man United. Love making life difficult for us. The last 4 years, they've been looking over their shoulders at us ever since the Lingard debacle. That's a really good point, Oliver. They messed us around last summer for the Maguire deal. Kind of fair enough. Thanks for messing us around there. But look. Wan-Bissaka has had his medicals. That's for sure. Wan-Bissaka is at West Ham. It's just a matter now of it being officially announced. Who else have we got down here? Great window, Joe. Hats off to Tim and Sullivan. Look, let's give credit where credit's due. You know, the irony with the board is they do something good and then they fuck it up, don't they, by doing something stupid. They've done something really good by backing Steiden and Lopetegui with all this money, and then they go and piss us around by taking away concession tickets for under 21s and for OAPs. Why do that? Why do that? Why give with one hand and then take from the other? What's the point of that? You know, we've spent about 170 odd million pounds in the transfer window. I know that'll be netted out because that hasn't taken off how much money we've made so far from it. But we've spent a substantial amount of money in the transfer window. And what do they go and do? They want to recoup about 600 grand by not offering concession tickets. What's the logic in that? I don't get it. Obsidian, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Good evening to you, John. How are you? Who's my makeup artist? My makeup artist? This is Sweat, mate. Bloody makeup artist. Carino. We bid for Meridian a while back. We did indeed. So it may be possible now just to get him and Duran and go mental. Him and Duran. Fucking don't think so. I might be doing myself a disservice. Maybe we are in from Meridian now that it's been, all we got to do, all Tim has got to do is go up to Meridian and go, listen, mate, you know, we've got this player, we've got that player, we're about to get that player. We're going, well, join us. What do you want to muck around with Chelsea for? You know, we'll be above them at the end of next season. We'll be in the Champions League. I'm telling you now, next season, I'll be playing the Champions League theme on this channel. Fuck me, I'm dreaming, aren't I? Usual. That little bit of gold on the third kit, it is in the memory of David. Oh, do you know what? I don't know. And that's a really good question. It's not been mentioned in that way, but that's a really good question, Usual. I don't know. You know, I've grown to like it. When I first saw it, I went, what's all that? What's that shit there? You know, hang on. What's that shit there? And then I thought, do you know, actually, it looks all right. It certainly looked all right when Tadibo was wearing the shirt. Good evening to you, Paul. I hope you're well. Can I have your Brentford ticket? No, you can't. Good evening, Will. How are you? You always have an alibi with me still, mate. Thank you very much, mate. But you try telling her that I'm going to football instead of her birthday party. You see these things down there, they're better off staying there rather than them hanging up behind me on the wall after I don't go. There's no way that's happening. Adam, good evening to you. I hope you're well too, mate. Good evening to you, Darren. How are you? I hope you're well. Kayosi, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. My dad and I say hello to you both. Thank you, chaps, for joining. Nick, would be crap, but maybe then they can use him to help the kids while still with us. I don't think. I think there was a joke about putting Zuma with the coaching staff, but are you going to be paying 100 grand a week to have a player coaching? I think they're going to pay him off, is my understanding, if things don't go well. Kylo, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Tony. JL now has to get them all to gel. That's the next bit. Lopetegui, early tee off at golf this morning, so I'll watch the show tonight. You go ahead and have a great time, mate. Good evening to you, Mr. Potter. How are you? What a window. Be careful what we wish for. I hold my hand up. I did say we're doing the right thing, letting Moyes go. Fuck me, was I wrong? And I'm so glad I was. That's the second time I've sworn. I do apologise to the channel sponsors. They'll go, that's it. We're not using him anymore. Scott, Eden Estelle, is it naive to think we'll definitely get top 7 with these signings? If we don't get top 4, I'll be angry, mate. No, I'm kidding. Look, no, it's not naive at all, to be quite honest with you. I think we've got to understand we're not the only team that's been strengthening. Everyone else around us has been doing so as well. Some better than us, some maybe not. Aston Villa, they've done pretty well in the transfer window so far as well. But you've got to have a good feeling about what's happened in this transfer window so far. And we're being told that it's not over yet. CC, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Watching and listening to fans from other clubs and media, we will surprise, baby, and slip in under the radar. We sure will. Sean, it's shit or bust this year. We're winning the league. Anything outside top 4 will be a failure. Garino, people underestimate how good our attacking midfield is now. This has been the most comprehensive overhaul of the squad with quality I can remember. And if you remember, we were sort of criticising our defence last season for conceding so many goals, and rightly so. A lot of fans, a lot of viewers were saying, hang on a minute, it's not just the defense that you've got to criticize. You've got to think about the midfield as well, because they're as complicit in allowing players to run through them and scoring the goals that they did. And you're absolutely right. And so we've strengthened in midfield. We've got some grit in midfield. And I'm going to go through those in a minute. Peter, it's always like Chinese whispers. Can you still say that these days with a transfer window? You can. That's not racist. My other half is Chinese and she wouldn't find it racist. So go ahead, mate. Finn, how much do we have to pay in increased rent when we win the Premier League this season? Well, that might be the price we pay as fans. David, good evening to you. My birthday today, had a great day so far. All the very best to West Ham. Happy birthday, mate. I hope you've had a great day and all the very best. Happy birthday. Garino, Romano gets his info direct from Steiden. That is true. Sullivan is too busy watching Twin Peaks to keep Andrew, Carlos Soler of PSG looks like another possible signing. Lopetegui wants him apparently. Could mean one of Souček or JWP going outwards. Yep, going to talk about that later on. Good evening to you, Anthos Diganis. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. West Ham Massive, good evening to you. Well, I've got the fan on, so if you do hear a noise in the background, it's the fan. I'm not turning it off. If you can't hear me properly, that's not my problem. I'm boiling. 282 watching, earning 10 likes. Come on, peeps. It's up to 348. If you've yet to subscribe, please do become a subscriber. And as Chris has reminded you, thank you, Chris, please also hit that like button as well. Good evening, Mr. Cockle. How are you? That was my mistake, and I apologize to you. That's no problem at all, Darren. Everything, all forgiven. It's all good. And apology accepted, mate. It's all good. And just become a subscriber now, okay, for your fault. Lincoln, Jazz is never going to let that one down. Well, you see, you never jump the gun. You should never jump the gun. Matt, sign the petition. Well done, mate. Thank you for doing so. Garino, source on Wan-Bissaka is a long-term ITK called Pesa, who posts on a few West Ham forums. There is also a German journo from Dusseldorf who posts on KUMB, who knows Steiden. I have never heard of Pesa, to be honest with you. First time. But the German journo, yeah, I'm not surprised if Steiden knows him. Wouldn't surprise me. Steiden does inform people. Let's not get it wrong. Steiden likes to let the cat out of the bag. Saying like he did that with Todibo, did that with several other signings that we've had this summer as well. Garino. By the way, same source also saying one more on loan and another permanent with sizable fee to come in minimum. Then I'm going to go through the players that we've been linked to. You tell me who you think or who you would like to have at the club. Not sure, Finn, what's wetter, my gonads in this heat or the grown-up men's nappies over he hasn't. Fresh Sean, did Siltman manage to get crowbarred into the Todibo deal? No, but Salthouse did. Oh, no, not the Todibo deal. Sorry, no, I don't think he did. No, you're absolutely right. I think he did. And then we got Salthouse dealing with Wan-Bissaka. So you know they're going to happen. Good evening to you, Danny Boy. I hope you're well. Lincoln. Howard blazing like a chief. Happy birthday, mate. Bake myself here. Anthos, the board are only doing this still because they are thieving Tories, learned from Bojo and the others. It's a shame. It's a real shame. No need to do it. Glenn. Lovely to watch us to win the cup. It was a lovely to watch us win the cup. Did you go? I heard it was quite a good game. We tried to watch it on my phone, and we were getting distracted by drinking alcohol. I mean, why would you do that? Andrew, Moyes would be panicking with all these signings. Would still play Souček and JWP in midfield with Antonio up front. Well, I'm going to talk about these players, and I'm going to talk about who you think is going to be starting. I've got a theory, but I'll let you decide. Dan, anyone know how to get rid of this green blob on the new shirt? Unfortunately not, unless you go to some dodgy Chinese website and buy it from there and insist that you don't want the green blob. Ian, evening, Stell, just got back from holidays. What is going on with player after player? It's amazing. Where did you go on holiday, mate? I hope you had a good time. Good evening, Foe. Long time no see. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. William, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Neil. We're going to be a much better side now than we have been over the last few years. I hope it don't go tits up. You know, how many of you are going, I got this feeling that we're going to win something, and yet at the same time, it could all go to shit, couldn't it? I mean, it won't. But that the West Ham fan feeling at the back of your mind going, it's going to be good. Is it? It's going to be good. Is it? West Ham fans, we expect the worst, don't we? Josiah, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. We're in for a great season. Hopefully double over Tottenham and Brighton and Ipswich and many more. Forget the doubles over them. I want to win a trophy mind you, we'd have to beat them to win trophies, I guess. But I want to win a trophy this season. I really, really do. I want to go to Wembley because it's only about 3 stops away from me. No, but seriously, I want to go to Wembley and I want us to win a domestic cup. Finn, it's not about glory supporting West Ham. It's about having the hope and the optimism. And that's what they've given us this summer. The hope and the optimism, mate, is rocketing. It's sky high. And long may it last. Long may it not. We'll find out this coming Saturday when we kick off against Aston Villa. Mark, good evening all. Great now that we have competition for places and cover for any injuries. Absolutely. Kevin, good evening to you. How long has Zuma left on his contract? 1 more year. We'll have to pay him off and no one will take him. I think that's what's likely to happen. Infamy. But that's, I'd worked it out last week. I think 1 more year on about 100 grand a week is about 4.6 mil. Do you write that off? You might have to. You might have to. Infamy. Twin Peaks. Actually, to be honest with you, I agree. I love Twin Peaks. West Ham massive. Question. Stel, once AWB is confirmed, if we could buy 1 more player for which position would they be covered for? I think if we buy 1 more player, which position will be covered for? Ironically, probably either another centre-back or another midfielder. I've got 2 in mind. That's who I think. Up front, actually, you know what? Up front, it all depends on... See, I'm going into the bits of the show that I was going to talk about. It all depends on who stays. West Ham massive, come back to me. Ask me that question a bit later on because I'm going to go into the players we've signed, the squad that we've got, etc., and who might stay and who might go. And then I might give you a more definitive answer. I think quite possibly another defender, another centre-back. And at this moment in time, maybe another midfielder. But then I'm swaying towards another striker. But I'll come back on that one. Ridiculous, Lincoln, if we get Soler. Well, then... And then once I've answered that West Ham massive question, then when I think about Soler, I think we've actually got too many midfielders. So I'm confusing myself. GJ, good evening to you. Typical Englishman, moan when it's hot, moan when it's cold. Good evening. No, I'm not moaning. I love it. I love it. Bring it on. James, I'm missing you European football already. So I'll be over the moon with European qualified to retain our cohesiveness. We will be back in Europe next season. Won't we? Finn, has Sullivan earned enough credit card loyalty points this summer to buy a child's ticket? Paul, the difference between us and other clubs is that we're having to change our playing style. So 10 signings, other clubs on average 3 signings. Good point. That's a really good point. Hello to you, Hammer84. I hope you're well. Good evening to you as well. Let me try and get down to the bottom so I can get into the main part of the show. Garino, still, think the loan will be Duran, same type of deal as Todibo. As for the perm signing, no idea. We've been linked to Fofana, Kadioglu, Zeze, and Samu. Now, I did talk about Duran. I've said a couple of times now, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, that I think that Duran could be a very late transfer. It could be one of those transfers that gets done right at the last moment. So I'll go with that. I'm going to change my mind, West Ham massive. I'm going to go with a striker and another defender. And I'll explain why defender later. Tammy Abraham. Bo. Love the Robin Williams reminder. Great transfer window this summer. What are your thoughts for the season? Thoughts for the season is I think we've got to do really well. I think it's got to be minimum top 6 and a domestic trophy. Ian. This window feels like the other time when we signed loads, Torre, Nordtveit, Caleri, but this time we're signing numerous quality players. We have to be excited about it. Yeah, that's the massive difference. Chelsea have got 8 goalies. Well, maybe, they might need more than 2 in goal at the same time from next season. John, they should sign 2 players a week. Can get used to this. It's getting crazy. James, whatever we think of Sullivan actually helped to get these signings through the door with the finances. It's true. You've got to give him credit where credit's due. But at the same time, you've got to say, Sullivan, what are you doing with concession tickets? Maltese Hammer, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. James, Doesn't this prove that Moyes was really the one holding up signings? Yes, unfortunately, it seems to. It seems to. I'll tell you what, people have started talking about players. So why don't we just crack on, shall we? Because I've already said we're still waiting for that confirmation about Wan-Bissaka. It's still not come through yet. So at this moment in time, look, people, it's not going to go wrong. It's not going to go belly up or anything like that. We know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of it now being officially confirmed. And this follows on from, I mean, come on. You know, when Jean-Claire Todibo was announced last week, did you start pinching yourselves? Because I certainly did. I thought, what on earth is going on here? You know, we've got a player that was his heart was set on going to Juventus. Thank God Juventus mucked OGC Nice around, and we jumped in there. Whatever it is Tim Steidten says to these players, it damn well works, doesn't it? Because he's come and signed for us. It's a loan to... Now, I speculated when I first saw the agreement, it was a loan with option to buy, and I went, oh no, what? What's going to happen? Are we going to end up having him for a season? And because we haven't got an obligation, he's going to end up going elsewhere at the end of this season. And then when I asked for some more information, I heard, no, it's all good. It's a loan with an option to buy until he plays a certain number of games. Now, the number of games is dependent on which ITK you follow. Some are saying it's only 5 games. Some are saying it's 20 games. Let's go for the midway and say it's 10 games because I don't know either. But it's a loan with an option, and once he hits the number of starts, which he's bound to, then it becomes like an obligation to. And what's been really clever about West Ham United, it's a 1-year loan, and then it's a further 5-year contract after that. And that means we're paying the £4 million, 4.2 million or something in a loan deal, and the remainder of that will then be spread over 5 years. Very clever, West Ham. Someone is finally dealing with the finances in a grown-up way. Absolutely superb. So fantastic. I think it's a great move. It's going to definitely shore up our defense without a shadow of a doubt. And him and Maximilian Kilman, they need to gel. That's the important thing this coming window. Okay, we haven't had an opportunity to see them play together. I dare say I wouldn't be surprised at all if Lopetegui had a behind closed doors game this week leading up to Saturday in order to give 1 or 2 players a little bit of time to get to know each other on the pitch. So let's hope that happens. Right, what about the game? What do we get from the game, the Celta Vigo game on Saturday? Because it might start giving us a bit of a hint as to what happens with some players before the end of this summer transfer window. First of all, we had Thomas Souček played in a much deeper role. Quite interesting, because I've always argued that Souček is better playing further ahead. And yet, what Lopetegui did, he got him to play a lot deeper. I think what Lopetegui was doing, especially with Rodriguez playing as well, is demonstrating that this is the type of football, the type of lineup that he wants. He's going to want those 2 pivots. And when Alvarez comes back from injury, by the way, Alvarez is back training. Now, I don't know if he'll be ready for Saturday, but Alvarez is back training. Now, a lot of people were speculating that he would be out for a good couple of months, but apparently he started light training again. So he's probably not going to be ready for Aston Villa, but he might not be as far off as we think. But I think what Lopetegui was doing was saying, this is the style I'm going to go for, the formation I'm going to go for, where I'm going to go for a pivot 2 in the middle who are going to kind of be holding, who are going to be looking after the defense, because as we know, he likes his fullbacks to maraud forward. He doesn't want them. He wants them a lot further forward. And of course, if the game breaks down and we're under attack, that means we've got the 2 central defenders, and then we've got 2 kind of pivots, kind of defensive style midfielders who will be able to help our defense not get too overloaded. So I think the pivot is clearly going to be Alvarez and Rodriguez going forward. And then what that does is it allows all the attacking players we've got to be free to attack. It doesn't mean that they're not going to shirk their responsibilities defensively. They'll still do that. But it means that we've got a bit more cover in defense, and we've needed that. I said at the beginning of the show, last season, not only was our defence poor, but our midfield in front of them was also equally to blame. Now, it's interesting, James Ward-Prowse came on as a late sub, and I wonder if that's going to be the theme for Ward-Prowse if he stays. Now, when it comes to Souček, my mind's not made up about him just yet. And when we're linked to the type of players that we're linked to, you start asking yourself, will Souček see the season out? Or will he be sold this summer? And the same for James Ward-Prowse. The difference with Ward-Prowse, of course, is he's homegrown. So the minute you start selling homegrown players, you're going to have to look in the marketplace to get homegrown players in. And then, of course, we had Guilherme, who came in really late. And I think that's a message there that Guilherme is, he will be around the first team squad. I do not think he'll be named in the 25-man squad, and I'll explain why in a minute. But I don't think Guilherme will get game time, but I don't think he'll get as much game time as we first thought when we brought him into the club. He will be around the squad. He will get game time, but Lopetegui might be doing a bit of a Moyes on him and maybe only using him the last 5-10 minutes of a game at this moment in time. And then we've got Rodriguez. I've just already mentioned him. He looked absolute class, didn't he? I mean, it's not only to get a player who was bound for Juventus, we also got a player who was bound for Barcelona. What's that statement? That's a massive statement from West Ham United, from Tim Steidten and from Lopetegui. Now, you've got to argue, someone mentioned it already, would we have stalled if Moyes was still here? Would we have got the likes of Todibo, Rodriguez, etc.? I'm not so sure that we would have done. Would Moyes have wanted them in the first place? I really don't know. But Rodriguez looked class, and it looks like he's ready to start on this coming Saturday. And then, of course, we've got young Somerville. Now, he came on, and I don't know, my mind's not made up about this, because if we do start with a pivot of the likes of, it may be Souček and it will be Rodriguez until Alvarez is fit. If that's the case with Paquetá in front, then maybe someone like Somerville may come on in the first few games of the season as an impact sub. Tell me what you think. Or does he become a starter? And then Paquetá, free roll, a free reign in the center of midfield, central attacking midfield. It was good to see him there. You could see the lights gone off again. That happened last week. You could see that he thrived in that position. He had freedom of the pitch. He could move wherever he wanted to move to in order to get the ball, and he did extremely well. Now, what was interesting is Mohamed Kudus played on the left. Now, it wasn't quite on the left as the way Moyes used him last season, where Moyes had him quite wide out. Kudus was kind of like an inverted left, and he was given a little bit of freedom as well to be able to maraud around the pitch. And, he was cutting in quite a lot. But I really genuinely thought that Kudus would actually be the player that would play in the middle of the pitch rather than Paquetá. So it was quite interesting to see that Kudus started out on the left. But would you call that a left-sided attacking role, or more of an inverted, an inverted winger, something like that? And then we had Füllkrug. Now, Antonio started the game. Is that a message saying that Antonio is the starter for the upcoming games in the league? Or will Füllkrug start this coming Saturday? I've got a gut feeling that quite possibly Lopetegui will start with Antonio for the first few games and then slowly bring Füllkrug in. I think Füllkrug will become our number one striker. He will become our starter, but I'm not 100% sure whether he starts from this coming Saturday. Now, when it comes to the squad, we have a look at it. This is what I believe will be Lopetegui's preferred first 11 when everybody's fit. Alphonse Areola in goal, of course. Wan-Bissaka as a right back. Todibo partnering Kilman, and Emerson out on the left. He could, of course, go with a 3 at the back and have Emerson move a little bit further forward. And then the pivot, like I said, Rodriguez and Alvarez. And then those front 4, I think moving forward, it's going to be Füllkrug, who's going to have Kudus and Bowen either side of him, and then that free role of Paquetá in the middle. And then you've got the subs. All of a sudden, your subs bench is looking quite strong. Look, let's take 1 or 2 out for a moment. Zuma is going. Gerd is likely to go. We're hearing now that that I mentioned a few weeks ago. I wasn't sure about Mavropanos, and there's rumour that he's likely to be going. And then you got Sunville, you got James Ward-Prowse with a question mark, you got Souček with a question mark, you got Cornet and Ings, who I think if we get an offer for them, they're likely to go as well. And then you've got Andy Irving, and then you've got Antonio. I'm going to talk about Antonio in a minute. Now, I said a moment ago that we don't have to name Guilherme in the 25-man squad. And here's why. He's under 21. He doesn't have to be named in the squad. That doesn't mean he won't play in the senior squad. But as you can see, there are 26 players there in total. So you can name those 25 less Guilherme. Guilherme can be in the under 21 squad, but not necessarily play in the under 21 squad. So I think it's going to be quite interesting. I think when everyone's fit, this will be Lopetegui's preferred lineup. But let's not also forget, Lopetegui likes to mix his teams around. He likes to give everybody game time, whether that be from the starting berth or whether that be coming on from the subs bench. You know, he said it in his interviews. He's talked about the squad being more than just the first 11. It is about the squad. It's having players who should be ready to go whenever they're called upon, whether they're called upon coming from the subs bench or whether they're called upon to start a game. He wants everyone to be mentally ready. And I think that's a good thing, you know, because we know from the few seasons we had before, we had a core of what, 14, 15 maximum, 16 players that were always used in, week out. Didn't matter whether they were on form or anything. This is what Lopetegui wants. He wants a competitive squad. I've just mentioned there'll be one or two players that could be leaving. I'm going to come to that in a moment. But before I do, let's go into your comments and see what you've got. Did anyone see Sheffield Wednesday threatening to throw supporters out the ground if they see in counterfeit shirts? Good luck with that one. Steve, they're so good you wouldn't know whether they're counterfeit or not. Steve, I would love a new solid left back, and that would be 10 out of 10 transfer window. I would too, but I don't think it's going to happen in this window. I think Lopetegui will be quite happy with Emerson and with Cresswell. Cresswell's in the last year of his contract, then he will definitely bid farewell, and then we will get a left back in, maybe in January or maybe in next summer. David, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Finn, Kilman and Todibo could be the best pair since Ambika got them out on Instagram. Infamy. I'm not really sold about Duran. I think we'll dodge trouble if we don't end up getting him, and I think he won't get 10 goals this season. Thank you, mate. You can ask me now, actually. Ask me the question again, because I think I've convinced myself we're getting a striker and a central defender in. Philip, I'm late checking in, and no doubt at all going into this season, very, very confident. Good evening to you, Philip. We're all confident. Elbow 73. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? 9:44. How far behind am I? Not far, so I'm going to try and catch up. I think we will sign Duran right at the end of the window. I think that may shock and surprise us. Yeah, I've said the same thing. Nick, question. Did anyone else see orgasm at Paqueta? Did anyone else nearly orgasm at Paqueta's goal versus Celta Vigo, or was it just you? Spoiler alert, it was just you. William, Duran farting and now orgasming because of goals scored. I'm worried about you. Have you seen a doctor lately? William, Duran at the end of the window, as everyone else is saying. Daniela, surely Zuma now got to think about medical retirement now. He can't play, can he? I mean, with the greatest of respect to him, you know, he's done. He's done for. He's finished. Reese, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Gaz. How are you? I think we might need to get another left back. He's great going forward, but not as good defensively. Well, if you're talking about Emerson, I thought much the same when we first signed him, and I took that back because I think he's proved to us that he's been a superb left back. Well, I didn't think he had it in him. I thought he was much better, like you guys. I thought he was much better at being a left wing back. But I think over last couple of seasons, he's proved to be a very, very good left back. Excuse me one sec. Infamy. Calling it out now, calling it out since I'm on the minority who doesn't want Duran. He won't score 10 goals, whether he's at Villa or with us this upcoming season. Totally fine if I'm wrong. You may well be right, mate. You may well be right. But my gut does tell me there's an inkling that we might just go in for him last moment. And as has been mentioned, that could be the loan to obligation to buy deal. Anthony, Harry Redknapp proved getting a load of new signs and trying to blend them to play together did not work. Depends on the kind of coach that you've got. Let's not forget, I did a show about a month or so ago when I talked about Lopetegui's first summer at Seville. Now, he brought in, if I remember correctly, 18 new signings at Seville, and he let go of 21 players. What happened that first season? They got into the Champions League by finishing 4th in La Liga, and they won the Europa League in the first season with 18 new players. We've got 9 so far. We could have about 10. Oh, no, sorry. We've got 8 with Wan-Bissaka coming in. We could have maybe 10 by the end of this summer transfer window, because he's got a nucleus of some excellent players. He's got the nucleus of, I think, Areola. I rate Areola. Areola in goal. I rate Emerson, like I've just said a moment ago. I think Emerson has proved himself to be a very decent defender. We've already got Alvarez in the club. We've already got Paquetá. We've already got Bowen, and we've already got Kudus. So we've already got 6 players in the club that are a solid, good 6 footballers. And then we could end up adding up to 10 players on top. That's 16 very good players. Now, yes, I agree with you, Anthony, to a point. It's going to take a little bit of time to gel. We might suffer a game or two. Who knows? It might be this Saturday. We might lose this Saturday because we're still bedding in all these players. But I think they're going to come good. We've got so much quality in this squad. And I said it at the beginning of, the transfer window. I said, I did a show and said, we've got to build around 6 players, and that included Areola, Alvarez, Bowen, Paquetá, etc., etc. And I said, if we can build around them, then we'll have a very, very solid foundation. And this is exactly what Steiden and Lopetegui have done. So I am confident. I'm not going to be overly confident. I'm not going to say we're going to win the league or anything like that. But finishing top 6, why ever not? Why ever not? Hammer Gary. It all went wrong for Chelsea still with the money that they spent. Madness, absolute madness. And this is one thing I've been saying about West Ham over the years. We've always spent money. No one can deny that we've spent money. We've always spent money unwisely. And this is what Todd Bowley's doing at Chelsea, just throwing money at players and not knowing what it is he wants, what it is he needs, taking over, just throwing money at the club. That's not the way to win things. You need a structure. It's come back on. We need a structure. And thank God, finally, we've got a proper structure in place with the likes of Tim Steiden there. He's spending the money wisely. I'll never forget when David Moyes came back for the second time and he said, I'm spending the money like it's my own. I don't know how many Scots are in here. No, I'm not going to make that joke. But he said, I'm going to spend the money as if it's my own. Well, mate, open that fucking wallet and spend it. Because he ended up not spending anything at all or not allowing transfers to happen. The money now is being spent wisely. When I look at the quality of players, do you remember when the transfer window started and we got Wes Foderingham in and everyone's like, oh, that's it. Tim Steiden, all false. Look at him. What's he doing buying a player like that? Even Wes Foderingham, I think, is a decent signing, to be quite honest with you. When you look at the stats, when you look at his stats over the years that he's played, as senior starts that he's made for teams, he's got a clean sheet in every 3. That's not bad for any keeper from any league in any country. Averaging a clean sheet in 3. And I said, I did a show this morning and I said, I know that Sheffield United had 80 goals knocked in past them, or Foderingham had 80 goals knocked in past him. But I'd said, our very own Alphonse Areola had 60 put past him last season. And no one's saying that he's a crack goalkeeper. And it is down to the defense that he had, both goalies and the midfield that they had. I think even Wes Foderingham is an astute signing. Not only does he fill the homegrown criteria, but I think he's now competing with Lucas Fabianski for that number 2 slot. And that's not a bad thing either. So the likes of him and the likes of going out and getting Guilherme in, who's going to be a sponge. You think about it, Guilherme playing around the first team for a season or 2, sponging it up. And then when we end up selling the likes of, I don't know, Kudus or Bowen or whoever, you've got Guilherme, who spent 2 years at West Ham United, learning from some of the best players around him, to walk into that team and start playing the level that the players he's been sort of learning from. So there's a good plan in place. It's really good. Somerville, another young player, 22 years of age, even if he doesn't get many starts that many people are expecting, again, just like Guilherme, he's going to be there or thereabouts. He's going to be getting game time, and he's going to be learning off players who are going to be absolutely fantastic. There's a logic now. There's a strategy. It's finally here. It's taken a long time for the ball to get there, but long live Tim Steidten, because if this is the start when he's got free reign to do transfers, imagine how much better it's going to get over the next couple of years. Garino, no official confirmation tonight. Poor media guy does not get paid overtime. Glenn, my poo West Ham United. Do you want the cup on Saturday? My poo West Ham United, do you want the cup on Saturday? Mate, you're going to have to rewrite that. I didn't understand what you were asking. My apologies. Andy, Meridian will be top draw. His move to Chelsea is now off. Elbow. That Obi Wan-Bissaka will have a blinder against Manure. Let's hope we all do. Who else? Frener, good evening, mate. How are you? I hope you're well. I haven't seen you for a while either. John, Stel, I know you're thinking about Moyes. I'm also glad he's gone. I will always be grateful for him saving us from relegation, getting us into Europe, because that's the base we're working from. Absolutely, John. Don't get me wrong. And many viewers of this channel will know that I did back Moyes a lot more than perhaps I should have done. And I do respect him for what he's done. But I did feel it was a little bit like an Allardyce season last season, where Allardyce overstayed his welcome by a season. And I think Moyes did that last season as well, to be quite honest with you. Let's scroll down. Matt. I doubt it was going to get confirmed today. Anyhow, the medical was only done today. Yeah, if it hasn't happened yet, what's the time? It's 10 o'clock. It probably won't get announced until tomorrow. Hammer 84. What if he gets injured second game and out for the season? Who? Could be any player that might get injured second game. But we've got depth now, haven't we? Lincoln. What's David Moyes thinking right now? I wonder. That would be interesting. Robert Singleton. Opta's supercomputer says we'll finish 10th. Fuck that supercomputer. James, anyone else slightly anxious about Emerson's defensive play? No. Going forward is good, but I feel that defensively is... But I I must be the only one who thinks he's vastly improved over the last couple of seasons. Defensively, I thought he was suspect. I think he's better. I really do. Darren, evening. I was at the game on Saturday. Rodriguez was sublime. Gennaro, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Never mind losing Kudus or Bowen. We should all be more bothered about losing. Period. Good evening to you, Gennaro. I hope you're well. Infamy, James Bond, I agree. Emerson can be inconsistent, playing defensively, and is better going forward. I must be the only one then. I must be the only one who thinks he's actually improved. Sean, is Wolves' interest in Antonio genuine? I do not know. I haven't had a chance to ask. I know that came out again. I know Lopetegui was interested in him when he was at Wolves. He wanted both Cresswell and Antonio. Whether they do want Antonio now, I genuinely don't know. I'm going to get onto transfers in a moment, and not only players potentially coming in, but potentially leaving as well. Garino, going to be weird predicting our starting lineup versus Villa. Under Moyes, the team picked itself week in, week out. But now, yeah, very, very different. William, 3-2-4-1 style could be. I know Lopetegui's been playing a back three for some of the pre-season. It's me, Sam. Good evening to you, Sam. That pivot two cannot be Souček and James Ward-Prowse. Don't think it will be. They offer nothing in attack or in defence. I agree with you, unfortunately. Mr. Osborne, long time no see. JWP should be kept, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm 50-50 on that. I am really 50-50 on that. John, looking forward to seeing the winning mentality, because if we have that with the talent that they have, it's going to be a great season. Paul, Captain Bowen is indestructible, top 5 and beyond. Bowen, captain, agree? I'm great. Well done to him. If he does become our captain for the season, I'm a little bit Not sure, to be honest with you. But what do you think? Should he be captain going into the season? James, a lot of players we have signed are good goal scorers from crosses, which is why I think JWP will stay. That's a good shout. Garino, would love to see Somerville left. Kudus as central attacking midfield. Bowen on the right with Paquetá and Rodriguez behind. Now, whilst Alvarez is not fit, that could happen as well. I would agree with that. Chris, I would keep Ward-Prowse for his dead ball ability, corners, free kicks, etc. Howard, we'd have signed McTominay and Maguire for 50 million each if Moyes was still here. Fremer replying to Foe, yeah, I'm equally happy about transfers, pissed about the concessions. Denmark is good, will be poor to complain. You're over in Denmark. Hope it's all good over there. Ian, Maggie Thatcher, Chelsea, Tottenham, you boys are going to take one hell of a beating. Sam, I don't want to see Kudus on the left. Bowen is best on the right, so I'd say trust Kudus in the 10. I think whilst it depends on what style Lopetegui is going to want to play, because if you do have the pivot two of Alvarez and Rodriguez, then something's going to have to give in the middle there. You know, because if you put Paquetá there, then that means the only place at this moment in time for Kudus is slightly over to the left. I'm at pains to say he wasn't an out-and-out left winger like he was used last season. He's more of a sort of like just behind the striker kind of winger, if that makes sense. But that's going to be an interesting one to see what Lopetegui does with the likes of Paquetá and Kudus going forward. Matt, weak as umped, Juve for Guido and to Debo. Superb. I don't know what that silver-tongued Steiden is saying to these players, but I hope I hope it continues. Gennaro, never mind losing Kudus and Bowen. We should be all worried about losing Steiden after this window. We now have a great squad. Let's hope we have the right head coach. Good shout. Yeah, Steiden has said he wanted a 4 or 5 year project. So I would say this is the start of the next 4 or 5 years. Imagine what it could be like next summer if we do well this season. Hamrick, gutted foot crug, missed that penalty. Must have taken a fair load of balls to step up after playing 20 minutes for your new club. Don't hold anything into that. That's nothing. Don't worry about it. You know, he got that out of the way and he won't mess up during a proper game, because he won't be told to take the penalty. Let's scroll down. Darren, Areola, Ward-Prowse, Areola, Wan-Bissaka, Kilman, Todibo, Emerson, Rodriguez, Paquetá, Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, and Fultug. So you're leaving out, Alvarez is injured at this moment in time. That defense is not shipping many goals. It's looking good, isn't it? And especially when you've got that sort of pivot just in front of the defenders as well. Yeah, I think we're going to be hard to beat. Hammer 07. Just now, sell Ings, Cornet, Soufal, Agurd, and one of Ward-Prowse and Souček. It's more about whether there are any buyers coming in for them. Going to talk about that in a moment. Good evening to you, early doors. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Mavropanos and Souček or James Ward-Prowse. You're all saying much the same players, more or less. Garino, Soler will come in, cover for Paquetá in case the worst happens. That's a good shout. But I think actually, that is a good shout. I agree with that. Gennaro, I would love another striker, but think we need to get cover for Wan-Bissaka and Emerson. Well, at this moment I'll come to those. Soufal and Creswell just haven't got the pace. I kind of agree, but I still don't think we're getting another left back in, to be honest. Question, if we only sign one player, for which position would it be? My preference would be left back. I really don't think we're going to get another left back in. I think it will be another versatile centre-back. That opens the door up for what I'm going to tell you in a moment. Zuma's only 20. He is only 29. But the way he runs, even I run faster than him. Ashley, good evening to you. Looking solid at the back now and a dynamic midfield and front line. We will do damage to the Premier League's back lines this season. I totally agree. Nick, You're making me look bad. Of course not, mate. You're all good, mate. You're all good. 69. Good evening to you. I think we'll start with the back three of Wan-Bissaka, Tadibo, and Kilman. El Machine and Roddy and Pat in the middle. Bowen, Kudus, Somerville, and Fulcruck up top. Yeah, that could well be it. That could well be it. Yeah, I like that. But let's not forget, at this moment in time, Alvarez is coming back from injury. Ralph, question: where do you think will be end of October? I think bottom half. It will take time, but I believe if we click, it'll be top 7. I think mid-table for the first couple of months, to be honest with you, mate. No, I'm going to take that back. We're playing all our games in London. I think we've got to make the most of that. So I think we'll be near the top. I think we'll be in the top 6 or 7 because we've got so many games in London and we need to get that going, that momentum going, because when we do start playing away, that's when it's going to become tougher when we're traveling, etc. So no, I think by the end of October, I think we might be somewhere near the top half of the table. Let's see who else we got. Infamy. Appreciate you always that's what makes the show. I keep saying it, and I'm not bullshitting. If I didn't have you guys, the show would be over in 15 minutes. Lavotto, good evening to you. Really looking forward to the season. I think there will be 2 more signings to come in yet. Agreed. But which 2? Mark, good evening to you. How much have we spent this window, and are we breaking FFP rules? No, we're not. We've spent at the moment about, if you include Wan-Bissaka, that's going to take us to something like 180, 185. You've got to take off what we've sold so far. And I mentioned Tadibo, by the way. Actually, it's not 180 because Tadibo is a loan of only 4 million this year. And we're actually not paying the rest of that until next year. Very clever. And we'll get another loan signing in with a similar process to Tadibo. Again, we'll probably pay a 3, 4, 5 million pound loan fee. Again, not making it that much to pay this summer. But we've got to take off money for players that we've sold. So I think the net, don't quote me on this, but I think the net is something like about 90 million, 80, 90 million, give or take. And I think there's still a way to go. I think there's still 1 or 2 players that we're going to sell, which will bring that down. Pegads, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. It was a nice summer of no West Ham news. What did I miss? Absolutely nothing, mate. Platinum Finger, Butch Cassidy. Love the name. Good evening, mate. I am watching on delay. If Zuma can't pass a medical, does West Ham not collect on their insurance? No, unfortunately, we do not. If only. Otherwise, clubs will be doing it left, right, and centre, I'm afraid, mate. Ums and ers, good evening to you. I know I do and er quite a lot. I feel if Ings was to be given a chance, he could perform quite well in this new system. I'm not so sure. But a lot of other people have said the same thing. You know, you feed him and he might thrive in the system. It's possible. Robert, good evening to you. Is this the most West Ham has spent on the squad in one transfer window, or the Pellegrini era is more? Pellegrini era, I remember it distinctly. We were talking about £100 million spend then. This is way more. Net though, Robert, I don't know. I'll have to check what we sold in the Pellegrini era as well. But I think at this moment in time, just for gross, how much we've actually spent, 170 odd million so far, is the highest. It might come down, it might balance down, but I think this is much higher than Pellegrini's era. David, Zuma's our new left back in the dressing room. Let's scroll down. Chris, good evening, Johnny. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Wan-Bissaka deal being done? Not yet. It's not been officially announced. I am checking my phone. Hang on a minute. Oh, no message. So not yet, not officially. Chris, I want a cup final against Spurs. Me and the bestie will have a day out, but he's a lily white. Oh, imagine taking your best mate to a game, a final, and then beating them. Matt, Villa will be weaker in midfield without Douglas Luiz. He was class. Nick, I've predicted us to finish 4th to 9th. Wide net, but I think 4th is possible just as much. I think it's 9th. I get that logic. Do forgive me. I'm going to scroll down, so I can't read out all your messages. I'd love to, but I can't. Old man, good evening to you. We're nailed on for top 6 with no European football. Let's not forget, we haven't got that distraction as well. We don't have European football to distract us this season. I've got a feeling, Andrew, Paqueta is going to have an unbelievable season for us and could be the difference in getting into the top 4 and 6. Good shout. Matt, They'll be so wide open you can get a dozen buses through their defence. Let's hope that happens this coming Saturday. Brian, if Somerville has a good season for us, I believe we'll make 6. I also rate us in the FA Cup. Somerville is key, I believe. Yeah, I agree. Good shout. Abu, good evening to you. Minimum is 8th. A window like this puts a level of pressure and expectation, but we have to be patient, as also this many changes in one window, as well as new style of play to embed. Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't want to put too much pressure on Lopetegui, but I'll remind everyone yet again, Lopetegui in the first summer at Seville got 18 new players in. He got rid of 21. In that season, they finished 4th in La Liga and they won the Europa League. No pressure, Mr. Lopetegui. Go and do your business, mate. Mark Collins. What are the odds on Moyes getting the Preston job and drawing them in the cup? You know what? Good shout. Good shout. That's very, very possible. Ian, evening to you, mate. Been a great window already. Can't believe there will still be more to come. Tim and all have done a superb job. We could really be pushing on this year, hoping for a good FA Cup run. I would love us to get to the FA Cup final. Seriously, truly, honestly, and then smash it. Smash whoever it is. Smash Man City 3-0 in the FA Cup final. Fucking wake up still. Wake up. Margel, good evening to you. Sojek and Ward-Prowse are both good players, but neither can play as a 6. Let Alvarez and Rodriguez handle that. Infamy. Who was the first manager to get sacked this season? Preston North End manager after one game. Kenneth, I agree with you. Or did you mean who's the first Premier League manager to get sacked? I don't know. Let's see. Kenneth, I agree with you. Emerson is now a solid left back defensively. Thank goodness. I thought it was just me, mate. My worry is having Creswell as backup because he's no longer Premier League standard. That I agree with you. Barry, so many first team changes. It will take a while to bed in. It's likely to lead to a weak first third of the season. I don't know. I hope not. But yeah, that could happen. Matt, it'd be interesting to see what Lopetegui does with his squad depth, as he will change the team depending on who we are playing. Who do you think starts against Villa? Well, because Alvarez is injured at this moment in time, mate, I'm going to put in Somerville because Alvarez is injured. So that lineup, Areola in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Emerson, and let's put... would he put Sojek there? Is that why he played him in deep role last week? Oh, should I piss you all off and say Sojek whilst Alvarez is... Okay, I'm going to go for it. All that, instead of Alvarez, because he's injured, Sojek in his place. There's your first 11 for Saturday. Go on, have a go. Sojek instead of Alvarez while he's injured. Emma, good evening to you. We just need everyone, including the manager, to gel, and I think it could be a great season. Europe of some description and a good cup run. I hope so. Now, I've got 548 watching. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Please, if you've yet to become a subscriber, please do subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing to do so. So please do hit the subscribe button if you like what you hear, what you see, the content so far. And also, please hit the like button as well. That is right below you somewhere there. Please hit that like button because the algorithms in YouTube make the channel go mad and all that crap. So please do that. Subscribe and like. Reese, floating somewhere in the sea of thieves, Sean. I don't know. You're talking to Fresh Fielder. Mr. Bruno, how are you, mate? Transfer window is great. They just have to sort out the concessions to be less hated. Absolutely agree. I said that at the start of the show. Absolutely agree. Abu, I'd like to see Cornet, Ings, Zuma, Mavropanos and Sojek sold, possibly stretch 30 mil out of that and reinvest in 3 upgrades, 1 in defence, midfield and striker. If we did sell those, I think we'd get something like 7, 14, maybe 12, that'd be 19, Sojek 29, 39. I reckon we'd get about 40 mil out of that, give or take. Let's scroll down. Johnny, I'm reading Wan-Bissaka is done and he has signed. Depends on what you've read it for. I'm waiting for my text message to come through and it still has not yet come through. But if that's come from Dartmouth on Sky, then it's done. Nick, Question: I found out Danny Dyer is related to the Cromwells, and I'm a direct descendant of Oliver Cromwell. So does that mean Bowen is my family technically, even if Danny Dyer is a very distant cousin? Technically, I guess you might be right, mate. Doesn't get you a free ticket for the game, though. My gel. People complain about squad was too small, and now we have signed enough players. People want to sell half our bench. Not quite wanting to sell half our bench. I get what people are saying, but if we do sell, I think it's got to a point now. The show I did this morning was about, have we done our essential business? And I think we've done our essential business. We covered, now that Wan-Bissaka's coming in, we've covered right back. We know we needed a right back. We've covered our central defence. We've done that. We've covered more depth in midfield. We've done that as well. We've covered the left side of attacking play with Somerville. We've done that. We've covered a striker. We've got a striker in as well. Now I think it's tweaking. Now I think it's going to be one in, one out. How far behind am I? Still far behind. Let's scroll down. Lavotto. No, Bowen is not the captain, just needs to concentrate on his job. Alvarez is the right call. John, got to start early tomorrow, so good night. Good night, mate. Thank you very much, John. Really, really appreciated for you coming on and taking part as well. Richard, if Paqueta is not found guilty, surely Paqueta and the club can sue the FA for millions. For what, though? They've done, they've in a way, technically, they've done nothing wrong. They've gone by the information they were given. Nick, have you heard anything regarding bringing more investment into the club? Yes, I have. And I did ask that about Amanda Staveley, who was director at Newcastle. And I asked the question. I was told, no, that's not true. Having said that, the Gold family's shares, 10% are still for sale. We haven't found any buyers for that 10% yet. And there was talked about this last season, that the board were potentially looking at a buyer taking 25%, which means that the current directors would lower their shareholdings, Kretinsky and Sullivan, etc., lower them all to 25%. So we get an investor in for another 25%. I think that's still on the cards. I know Karen Brady's been going out looking for investors. So yes, there will be investors. When or what or how, I do not know at this moment in time. Let's scroll down. HTRN, good evening to you. If we don't get European football, it'll be disappointing knowing we've done everything we can in this window. Kind of agree. HTRN again. You've said the same thing. So Jizz, good evening to you. Want to see more of Irving this season? He's been classed the whole of preseason. Will we get any more of Irving? I don't know. Good evening to you, Foxes. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Garino, if we could go up to 150 million, I reckon probably keep some back till January. Well, there might be more players coming in January. That's a good point. Gary, I agree. I don't feel like Ings has had a proper chance with us. I don't understand that Ings' shy attitude that some seem to believe. I'm not sure he'll get the chance, but let's see what happens. Ronnie. Trevor Chalobah, main position is centre back, and other position he can play defensive midfield and right back. So we'd probably consider going in for him as he's a versatile player. On that, why don't we go into transfers and talk a little bit about transfers? Forgive me, if I didn't do that video break, there's no way I would have been able to drink a bit more water. And you know what I'm going to do? Because I want a little bit more water, I'm going to do this as well. So bear with me, only a minute. The latest football prizes competition offers you a chance to win some fantastic West Ham related prizes. The latest is a signed and framed Crescencio Somerville West Ham boot display. Every ticket purchased for this draw at £3.95 a ticket also gives you the chance to win 14 instant prizes, as well as the chance to win a signed shirt from fellow new signing Luis Guilherme. The draw ends on Wednesday, the 14th of August at 7:30 p.m. and the live draw will be made on Thursday, the 15th of August at midday. There are only 165 tickets available for this great prize. So go to footballprizes.co.uk website for details and terms and conditions. Right, done that. I've just received, and whilst I was busy drinking water, I sent a message saying any news, and I've been told zero. And Sean is typing in, so I'll read that in a minute. So let's go into transfers. So at this moment in time, despite reports, he's saying nothing from either of the ITKs either. So at this moment in time, excuse me, Aaron Wan-Bissaka has not been officially announced, despite reports confirming that the deal is done. It's not yet been officially announced. So we're waiting for that to happen. I don't think there's an issue with the transfer, to be honest with you. It's just a matter of maybe, they've done the medicals and then they're going to do the contractual stuff either later tonight or tomorrow. But my gut tells me that it'd be too late now to announce it. They'll probably announce it something like 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning. So do listen out for that. Now, we already know, no secret here, that Kurt Zouma, absolutely no surprise to anybody, went out to Dubai at the weekend to do a medical with club Shabab Al Ali. And there were issues with the medical. I mean, it comes as absolutely no surprise to anybody that that's the case. Now, my understanding is he's not back in London. He's still out there. They're still negotiating. They're still bashing out some kind of deal. And I think it's a rearrangement of the deal. Look, he's going for virtually nothing, actually nothing at all, to be honest with you. We're not getting a transfer fee, maybe a nominal amount of money. But my understanding is it's more about him negotiating a contract. What sort of contract they're going to offer him. My gut tells me that they may get to a point where they may offer him a pay as you play type contract, and maybe doing it game by game. Let's see what happens there. Now, what will happen with Zouma if he doesn't, if nothing materializes from this deal? I think West Ham United, because they want that squad depth. If you remember, I talked a moment ago about the size of the squad. At this moment in time, including Zouma in the squad, there's 26 players there. And like I said earlier in the show, you don't have to name Guilherme in that senior squad because he's under 21. So there's 25 players with Guilherme out of there. But that includes Zouma at the moment. And I think what West Ham United want to do, well, not think, I know what West Ham United will want to do. They want to free up that particular space in the squad in order to bring someone else in. So we know that we've got one more player to bring in when Zouma is gone. And if we cannot get an agreement with the Dubai club, I think Zouma will be offered a compensation package, a severance package to leave West Ham United. Talk about him working with the coaches. I don't really know if that's likely. I'm not sure. I've not heard any rumors about that. So I think Zouma will be gone one way or another. It's such a shame to finish a career in that way, but he is finished as a Premier League footballer. Naifa Gerd, we're still waiting for offers for Naifa Gerd. I said in last week's show that Naifa Gerd had turned down one or two advances. I don't know what teams they were, but the guess is potentially a couple of clubs in France, one of them potentially being Lille, and the other team potentially being Nancy, Nice, who have now lost to Debo, and one or two other teams in France, and apparently one or two teams in Spain as well. But he's turned potential offers down. But we believe that if the right deal comes in that he agrees to, he'll be off as well. So that makes it two players from centre-backs, which tells me that we're in for another centre-back, because Dinos Mavropanos could be the third centre. In fact, actually, we could end up losing all the four centre-backs we had at West Ham last season. Ogbona's obviously gone. Zouma is just about gone. We're waiting for offers for a Gerd. And now we've heard. Now, I predicted that Mavropanos has not impressed in pre-season so far, and it looks as if Lopetegui has finally decided that he could also be surplus to requirements. So it will not surprise me. Can we afford to lose all three, Zuma, Agerd, and Mavropanos? Only if we get players in. But the understanding is Lopetegui will be happy to offer Mavropanos as much as he would offer Agerd and Sufal. And Zuma. And then we've got Vladimir Sufal. Many fans are saying, and I've kind of agree, is that now we've got Wan-Bissaka, Sufal is likely to become a backup. Now, that might upset some fans because I know he's a bit of a fan favourite, but in his final year of his contract, there's no suggestion that he's going to be offered an extended deal. So it looks like Vladimir Sufal could potentially also be leaving West Ham in this transfer window. Now, look, we can't afford to lose all these players and not get replacements in, of course, but there's been talk. You've already mentioned it in the chat. One player who fulfills three areas. Trevor Chalobah of Chelsea. We know he was left out of the American tour. He is back training with the Chelsea squad, I believe, but he's not considered to be part of the new coach's plans. So Chalobah is absolutely, definitely available. Now, he fills three criteria. He can play at centre-back, he can play as right-back, and he will fulfill homegrown criteria. So if we do sell a player who's currently homegrown, then Chalobah is a player that could come in. Now, let's remind you of who our homegrowns are. If you look at our squad at this moment in time, we've got, once we get the confirmation for Wan-Bissaka, we've got 8 homegrown players in there. There's Foderingham, the third choice goalie. There'll be Wan-Bissaka. There's Aaron Creswell. There's Max Kilman. There's James Ward-Prowse, Jared Bowen, Mikel Antonio, and Danny Ings. Now, if we start selling some of these players, some of these homegrown players, and I've seen your comments about potentially James Ward-Prowse going, and people, maybe suggesting Creswell might leave. I don't think that will happen. But if we do sell any of our homegrowns, we've got to get a homegrown in. And that's where Chalobah comes in. He can fulfill one of the homegrown criteria. So I'm suggesting that I don't know if it will be a loan to buy or if it will be a straight out purchase. It's quite possible. Chelsea are going to want about £25 million for him. It will not surprise me one bit if we put a bid in for Chalobah and he'll be the next player coming in after Wan-Bissaka. Next up, Sergi Roberto, ex-Barcelona player. Now, he's right back. He's also a versatile player. He can also play in the central defensive midfield. There's been a suggestion there that we might bid for him as well. Well, not bid for him. He's a free agent. But if it was a choice between Chalobah and Roberto, I would say it would be Chalobah that West Ham will go for, like I said, because of the criteria that he fills. There's another player. I talked about him this morning, Arnau Martinez from Girona. 21-year-old right back, very highly thought of, a very good prospect for the future. He could be the kind of the shadow for Wan-Bissaka. A couple of seasons under Wan-Bissaka and then maybe someone like Martinez can step in. That will make perfect sense. But again, if I'm looking at what do we need as a right back, again, I'm thinking Chalobah might be the choice. But don't forget about Martinez. There may be something in the interest in him. Then we look at midfield, and then we look at players like Thomas Souček. Now, I said earlier in the show, Thomas Souček was used in a deep role against Celta Vigo at the weekend. And I think that's more because of the style of football that Lopetegui wants to play. Could he use Souček as a backup in that role? Yes, it's possible. It's quite possible. There's talk about him being en route to Turkey. I think he only signed an extended contract last year with West Ham. So maybe he's one of the few players in the squad that we can demand a reasonable price for if we do sell him. I'm 50-50 on Souček at this moment in time. But that will all depend on the interest in some of the other players that I'm going to talk about in a minute. James Ward-Prowse, same thing. with regards to homegrown. It's quite possible, and other people have said in the chat about using him for set pieces, etc. That's also a good point as well. But it's quite possible that Ward-Prowse might be saved by the fact that he's one of our homegrown. If I was a betting man, I think if it was between Souček or Ward-Prowse staying, and don't get me wrong, it's not because I think one's better than the other or anything like that. If it was a choice between Ward-Prowse or Souček going, I think my money would be on Ward-Prowse staying and Souček going, purely because of the homegrown criteria. Another player who's failed to impress in pre-season, we talked about give him a chance, but he hasn't taken it. Maxwell Cornet is another player that could be leaving in this window if we get made the right offer for him. Now, players coming in. It's not Carlos Solder, it's Carlos Soler. My mistake. There's always a spelling error in my posts. Now, if we do start losing the likes of Thomas Souček or even Ward-Prowse, etc., then you could see why the interest in Carlos Soler is there. He's not getting a lot of great game time at PSG, and he could be a player that we could maybe do a loan to buy deal on. So let's look out for that over the coming days as well. And then, of course, we've heard that AC Milan, this is a bit like Todibo trying to get, this is a bit like Juventus trying to get Todibo in, and they couldn't get it over the line. We're hearing AC Milan are struggling with getting Youssouf Fofana over the line. If there is the remotest of chances for us to get Youssouf Fofana, you can forget about Soler or any other central midfielder, because it will be Fofana that we'd go for. Imagine getting him. I mean, seriously, people. Anyway, let's stop dreaming. But Roberto, again, is a player, because he can play in central midfield, he could be considered, because he is versatile, he could be considered. But to me, if Fofana is available, watch out, watch this space and see what happens there. Danny Ings, we spoke about him earlier on. Place in the squad, I'm not so sure. And it is all down to whether we do go for another striker. And my gut kind of tells me that we're quite likely to go for another striker in this window. And that means that Danny Ings' place in the squad falls down even further in terms of the pecking order. I get what you're all saying in this, setup, etc. He might succeed a bit more, but I'm not so sure. And then we've got to ask the question about Mikel Antonio. Antonio has already made it very, very clear there's a reason why he's got the number 9 shirt on his back. He believes he's number 1, numero uno, or numero number 9 in this case. He still thinks he's the man that you've got to knock off that number 9 perch to get past him. Do you remember when we signed, I've forgotten his name, who's gone back to Italy? Do remind me of his name. When we signed him, Scamacca. When we signed Scamacca, Antonio was not happy. He was even less happy when he realized that Scamacca wasn't coming in to play backup to him. He was even more pissed off because he realized Scamacca came in to take his place in the starting lineup. Now, will Nicholas Füllkrug be the same player to start ahead of Mikel Antonio? My instinct tells me that Lopetegui's going to start with Antonio. He might start with Antonio for the first few games of the season, and then he's going to ease Füllkrug in. Füllkrug will become our main striker moving forward. How many games? I don't know. 4, 5, 6, 7 games maybe. But I think what you'll see is you'll see Antonio starting, and then the transfer window will close, and then Antonio will realize that he's no longer a starter, and it'll be Füllkrug starting games going forward. And then that might leave a choice for Antonio to make when the January window comes, and he might decide he might want to move on. I don't think he'll want to move on initially, because I think he'll be given the nod initially, but that's just to bring Füllkrug up to speed. I could be wrong. Tell me what you think. And then when it comes to players coming in, everyone's got that nagging doubt about John Duran. I mentioned it as soon as we signed Füllkrug. I said, I wonder if we're still in for Duran and whether this will be the loan to buy deal. It is quite possible that we might still garner an interest in Duran. And then, of course, Tabby Abrahams. Now, I don't really think we're going to go for Abraham's. But the only reason why I've put him in is, again, because of homegrown talent. Because if we start moving homegrown players out, if we move Danny Ings on, if we move James Ward-Prowse on, and so on, we're going to have to bring in players who will fulfill the homegrown criteria. And maybe, just maybe, Tammy Abraham might get the nod over others. If I was a betting man between John Duran and Abraham, I think it will be I think it'd be Duran. Now there are others, a Meridian, etc., and I know there's several other players that have been mentioned, but I think at this moment in time, those are the players that we've got most in mind. So I'll just recap. So in terms of defense, I think we're looking at potentially Chalobah. I think there's a very, very strong chance that we're going to go in for him. I think the only other teams that have an interest in him are Crystal Palace and Fulham at this moment in time. I'm not aware that those other London teams have made an advance for him. I hope I rate Chalobah. I know he had a serious injury last season. He missed a massive chunk of the season because of injury, but I hope he's a player that we do show an interest in. Sergio Roberto, I think, is an outside chance. Arnau Martinez, maybe an outside chance as well. And then when it comes to midfield, Carlos Soler, I think, again, yes, I'm sure there's an interest, but that will all depend on whether we do get rid of the likes of Souček or JWP, but will also be whether Fofana becomes available. Because if Fofana becomes available, I think he blows other players out the window when it comes to the central midfield role. I would imagine he'd be the player that we want to go for. And then up front, Danny Ings, Antonio, if either of them go, then my money's on John Duran, to be quite honest with you, to be another player potentially coming in. Right, let's go back into your comments. Guys, I agree, Stel. We have a superb squad. Don't forget that there are lots of other teams needing to integrate new players. Maybe not as many as us, but teams can just click, and that could be us. Exactly. You know, sometimes it can just click straight away. You never know. Mygel. Souček or Ward-Prowse when Alvarez is out. I'd like to see Somerville, but that means Paqueta has to play as an 8, which might be a little bit too offensive. Possible. Usual. O'Neill just signed a 4-year contract at Wolves. That's not to say he can't get sacked. Lee, good evening to you, mate. Hi, Stel. Enjoy your stream with you. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Platinum Finger. In my opinion, Emerson was man of the match in the cup final. He absolutely was. Did he fall off last season? I think many players fell away last season, to be quite honest with you. Reese, I know, and you do like winding me up. Thank you very much. Delton, it's about time we leave off Suma because we signed him knowing about his knee and ask him to play in pain. West Ham is doing the decent thing, letting him go for free. Absolutely. Totally agree. Don't blame the player. You know, it's not his fault. And we only had him available. Barry, Hammers Chat is saying Wan-Bissaka has been signed. I don't know when that was, but I've been told, and this was a message that I asked at 10:30. I asked, I'm on the show. Any news? Zero. Even Ornstein has said nothing either. And apparently, once Dartmouth, Seth says it's done, then it's done. Ronnie, Villa ain't all that. They couldn't win the Conference League. Exactly, mate. They're not as massive as us. Lavotto, Ings is not what you'd call an intelligent striker. He has not been able to adapt. He could not do it under Moyes. He would not be able to do it under Lopetegui. He is a one-trick player, no change. Maybe a little bit harsh. I kind of, to a point, I agree with you. I don't think he will get the opportunity, to be honest with you, but I could be completely wrong. Do forgive me if I miss some of your comments. It's only me trying to catch up. Delton, I think we should keep Ings as a backup to Fulkrug. He will relish the service and he knows the players around him. See the contrast. Someone says he's wouldn't be good. And someone else says, but I love that. That's the good reason why we have the debate. Garino, good night to you, mate. You did say good night about 20 minutes ago. Early start. I fully expect 2 more signings by the time I wake up. Otherwise, it's Steiden out. Good evening to you, Scott. I hope you're well, mate. Keith, how are you? Please like and thank you very much, mate. It costs you nothing, but it's priceless to sell. Really appreciated. Thank you. I really would appreciate you becoming subscribers as well as liking the the show. Thank you very much. Trodge, Karen is learning belly dancing in order to turn on the charisma with the Middle East investors. Maybe before, but not now. Oh man, having a new investor doesn't mean more money to spend, does it? If we're limited to FFP, actually, you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean more money. You know, we must have realised that when Kretinsky came in, and we thought he was going to be our saviour, and he wasn't. So you're absolutely correct there. What have I done? What have I done? Oh well, the hostage video. Thankfully, it's not as bad. Please tell me it's not as bad, Keith. Blink twice if you need me funny. Come on, people. It weren't that bad. Mark, will we ever go back in for Duran as he's burnt his bridges at Villa and we know he wants to come to the Hammers? As I said, yeah, I think there's a possibility that we might do, but it'll be right at the end of this transfer window. Gary, we need cover for every single defensive position. Keep Soufal, Mavropanos, and another centre back. Keep Creswell, Sodslaw, one of the new centre backs, will get injured early doors. Fremer, can anyone please donate a knee to Zuma? He'll pay good money. Do feel sorry for him, but that is the end of his career. Migel, now we have a balanced squad. We should get some more signings for the future, like Guilherme. Yes, Nathan Zezi is another one that's been mentioned today as well. Trini, according to Darmish, there might be a loan deal possibly. Yeah, just gone through those as well. Sean, rumor has it says he takes a 50-yard penalty run up. Martin, a pay-as-you-play contract for Zuma sounds fair. Absolutely. Anush, good evening to you. I genuinely feel we can finish top 2. We certainly have the team to do so. An exciting manager. We can blow bubbles and dream. Wow, mate. That really is dreaming. Trevor, good evening to you, mate. He is a risk to any club. I'm guessing you mean Zuma. Usual. Zuma is in France, playing for the French Paralympic team. Ronnie, Zuma gave us great service, but his time with us is done. Daniela, it seems Pablo Fornals had a hand in persuading Rodriguez to come to us. Yes, I read that. Trevor, great show as always, Trevor, from Cape Town. Thank you, mate. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for watching, and thank you for taking part. Apache, imagine if Zuma ends up as our physio. That would be ironic. Griff, Emerson was one of our best players last year. Great player. Trodge, should have kept Talese. I liked Talese. I won't lie, I did. I thought he was ready for the senior team. I liked him. I agree with you there. Sean, Shaloba's been banished to train with the young side. That I didn't know. I thought he was back with the senior team. I wasn't aware of that. Ian, Trevor Shaloba is a decent shout. I hear it's another loan to buy deal, which seems good business. Decent player, versatile too. I'll take him to add cover and depth. Absolutely. Let's scroll down. Let's get a few more comments in. James, has Wan-Bissaka joined us yet? Not officially. Not officially as yet. Ronnie, I've got a Ronnie B and a Ronnie Bruno. Who would have thought? Isn't Sergio Roberto main position central midfield? His other positions are right back and defensive midfield. It is. But, you know, he is a player that, well, I guess that's why I put him in there, because he could be an option at right back as well. Let's scroll down. Roberts. Breaking Earthy to go to Bristol on loan tomorrow. I'm going to do a show about our young players, because I'm going to ask the question: are you going to be that upset if a lot of our youngsters don't get a look in this season? Ralph, Turkey, if you thought that cat kicking was bad, I know. I've been to Istanbul. I know it's the country of cats, like Cyprus, full of cats. I don't think Kurt Zuma would enjoy himself there. Trini, hang on. We're not talking about Kurt Zuma there, though, are we? If you thought that cat kicking was bad, do some research there. Trini, what do you mean? They look after their cats over there. It's very risky getting rid of so many players. It would be a miracle for all these new players getting up to speed quickly. Gaz, no, still definitely not Souček. He moves Somerville out wide. Kudus will be alongside Paquetá with Rodriguez just behind. Absolutely. Good shout. Nick, did you call him Carlos Solder? No, I mistyped it. West Ham circuit boards need soldering. I know. See, I can't get one past you. Thank you. It was very funny. Ralph, would love to see Skamaka back here. Point to prove. He's out for a long time. isn't he? What did he do? His cruciate ligament or something? Lavotto, any homegrown is better than Ings when it comes to wages. I would take the job for 10K a week. Nick, it'll be good to have good competition. If Antonio and Fulkrug want to get angry and fight for their places, then that's good. So long as they don't fight on the pitch, then that's all right. Steve Irons, I don't want our new manager to have the Roberto curse like Pellegrini. So please no. CC, if Antonio starts the same nonsense again, he can just do one. Sean, Skamaka out for 6 months with horrific ACL, already undergone reconstructive surgery. Wow. Bet that hurt. Toha, if Antonio stays away from the podcast, stays fit and is through the divorce blues, he may yet prove to have a good year. Good shout. He's in his last year of his contract as well, though. Let's not forget. Freedom Sounds. According to Chandler Wilson, Keane Julian has been stunned and bewildered by just how good Jared Bowen is. I'm glad about that. I'm actually really glad. I hope Lopetegui realizes that when he's come to West Ham, like I said earlier in the show, he's got about half a dozen players who are superb to build. Well, Stardom would have known that, and building the squad around those players looks like exactly what's happened. Yuha, what a window. Can't wait for Aston Villa. Come on, you Irons. Ronnie, if we get Fofana, I'm down the bookies. Have we signed Wan-Bissaka yet? Not officially, but it will happen. David, if Fofana joins, JWP and Souček will beg to leave. That's a good point. Martin, personally, I hope we don't try to sign Chalobah. I think he's error prone. I think he came, I don't know, Martin. I think any more error prone than the defenders we've got at the moment? I don't know. You might. Good point. CC, Antonio's not in the same league as Fulkrug. I'll be unhappy if Antonio starts on Saturday. I will be unhappy, but I won't be surprised if Antonio starts on Saturday. Freedom. Lopetegui has told staff members Bowen is better than some of the wingers he's managed for Spain and whilst in Madrid. Nick, do you know which players eat sprouts, cabbage and eggs? Here we go. No idea, Nick. Do you know? It's happy hour, isn't it? Morrow, good evening to you. Can someone clear up what's happened with Luzau? Isn't he a centre-back? He is a centre-back. Has he gone out on loan yet? I know several of our youngsters have gone out on loan. I don't think he's gone out on loan, but there's talk about him going out on loan. Lavotto, agreed. Antonio to start and score. Ronnie, Emery and J-Lo are cut from the same cloth, so no joy for Ings, methinks. I don't think, to be honest, that Ings will survive this window. I'll be surprised, and I'll be pleased for him if he does well, if he stays. Marcus, greetings from Argentina. Greetings to you, Marcus. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. So happy to see Guido joining us this season. Looking forward to next season. Wonderful, mate. Thanks for coming on all the way from Argentina. Lavotto, we buy Tammy for homegrown, buy a cheaper player from the championship. Oh, why buy Tammy? Yeah, good shout. Good point. Absolutely good point there. Matthew, we could finish 1st, 2nd, 5th, 12th, or 17th. Where West Ham. That is so true. That is so true. You're not the only one, Richard. Stell, I like Emerson as a left back. I like him. I think he's done really well. But we do have to look forward in the future. I think we'll be buying a left back next season in order to compete with him. Darren, Sky saying AWB has completed his medical, agreed to pay off with Man United. All that's done. Yes, but we haven't received the official. He's signed for West Ham. Cyber, how are you? Good evening to you. You haven't missed much apart from 1 hour and 42 minutes. But other than that, you've missed nothing at all, mate. Sean, guessing all the youngsters will be aware that they are third choice at best in all positions. They'll be next man off the bench when injuries hit. So now there's a proper pathway, in my opinion. Cyber, Stel, what's the Teddy's name? Which one? They don't have names. If you want to give them names, Cyber, you do that, mate. Ralph, no, Stel. Erdogan has ordered the killing. Oh, shit. Better not tell me the other half that. You should go fucking nuts. I didn't know that. Fuck. Fly Fox. I want the youngsters to develop. I think Earthy playing every week against men in the championship rather than other academy teams increases his chances of making it in the first team. I 100% agree with you. Is it Earthy that's going out on loan, or is it some of the others? I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm going to do a show about it this week. Troj, we've got a Europa squad for playing once a week. Not sure kids will get much of a look in. I agree. Kevin, evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Fly, I hope Potts can break in this year. The others, I want to get regular football. Potts and Earthy are probably maybe the ones that are closest to maybe getting more game time than any of the others. Lee, I think Antonio could have a great year. He can do all his running in the final third of the pitch and also have other players backing him up as well. Good shout, that. Yeah, good shout. Flyfox, was that Jack Clark bloke from Sunderland a Moyes target? It looks like he wasn't anybody's target, to be honest with you. Haven't heard anything about him this summer at all. Still at Sunderland, I think. This is the problem with transfer rumours, because they end up being just rumours. And we start to believe them because more than one channel or more than one social media outlet says that we're interested in the player. All of a sudden, we think it's a definite going to be signed. But more often than not, you find about 90% of the transfer stories go no further than just being interest. 6-9 Claret. Duran comes after the Villa game. I agree with you. Bubbles and Ted. That's what I'll call them. Thank you, mate. Good evening to you, Mossy Taylor. How are you? Thank you for joining us. X said Earthy to Bristol. That was it. Thank you, Gemma. Appreciated. John, Potts manned up at Wickham. He absolutely did, John. If the youngsters go to the right club, they can make a mark for themselves. And he was their player of the season as well. I like Potts. Like I said, if there's any player that is likely to be close to West Ham senior team this season, Potts may be one of them. Let's scroll down. We're down to the bottom. Sorry I'm late. Evening, Virgil. People saying hello to you, John. Sorry I'm late, Vic. Can I have a recap? I'll do you a quick recap and then I'll go. So really, really quick recap. Let me scroll back. Let me scroll back to that as well. And this is going to be whirlwind, so you better be ready for it, Vic. You better listen up quickly, mate. So, first of all, I thanked everyone for 7,000 subscribers. Really appreciated. If you've yet to sign the petition for a postseason tickets, go to change.org and sign that petition, please. We've got to get the board to change their minds about concession tickets. Wan-Bissaka, despite people saying that deal's done, it's not been officially announced as yet. But I don't think there's a problem. It's just a matter of timing. So let's hang on. If it hasn't been announced yet, it probably won't get announced until the morning. Todibo should strengthen the defense. What a signing he is. And then we talked about the game that was played on Saturday. Soucek playing a deeper role. Ward-Prowse coming on late. Is that a sign that maybe he might be going? Guilherme might have to bide his time and maybe not play as many games or as many minutes as we maybe thought when we first signed him. Rodriguez looked absolutely class in midfield. Impact sub or starter with regards to Somerville. My gut says initially he might be an impact sub until later on in the season. Paqueta being given a free role was wonderful to see, but then that meant that Kudus was operating slightly on the left of the striker. Is that good for him, or can we change it around in the middle to accommodate both those players in the middle of the park? And then I asked the question, will Fulkrug start the game on Saturday, or will it be Antonio? Then I went into transfers. Like I said, reports confirm the deal's done, but it's not yet to have been officially announced. We knew that Kurt Zuma was going to not pass his medical, but apparently he's still out in Dubai trying to negotiate a different deal. Let's see what comes out of that. We're still waiting for offers from Naya for Gerd. Navrapanos is apparently now up for sale as well. Vladimir Soufal's in the final year of his contract. Will he want to be back up to Wan-Bissaka? We may potentially see him going as well. Trevor Chalobah is an obvious target to go for because not only can he cover at centre-back, he can also play at right-back, and he's also a homegrown talent. So if we do sell any homegrown players, he will fill the homegrown criteria. I'm not too sure about the Sergio Roberto stories. I think it's a nice to have, but I'm not sure that is one that we're really in for. Arnaud Martinez from Girona is another possibility, a good young 21-year-old right back who can come in to be the backup for Wan-Bissaka. Thomas Soucek, we're going to have to wait and see. And I said if I was a betting man between Soucek and Ward-Prowse, I think it would be Soucek that stays It'll be Souček that goes and Ward-Prowse that stays purely because of homegrown criteria. Maxwell Cornet, if we get a bid, we'll let him go. Carlos Soler, not Solder, is an interesting midfield target, and I think he will only come in if we do get rid of the likes of Ward-Prowse or Souček. However, if Yusuf Fofana does not go to AC Milan, and if Silver-Tongue Steiden can get over and talk to him, I think he'll blow any other players out the water. And imagine getting Fofana to West Ham United with all the other players that we've got. Even someone said I'll be going down the bookies and straight I'll be following you, to be honest with you. Danny Ings, place in the squad. I think there's a danger that he may not keep his place in the squad. Mikel Antonio, I think, will be the initial starter up front, but I think he'll fall away, and Fulkrug will then become our main striker starter. And there's a possibility that we could go in an end of transfer window, loan to buy deal for John Duran. Tammy Abraham, don't know. I think the only reason why he's in there is because he's another homegrown talent. I know there are others on Marodian, etc., but I've not included them. That was the catch up. I hope you enjoyed that, Vic. What else have we got here before I bid you good night? Leon, well, you've heard the catch up as well. I'm not doing it again. Ralph, Potts reminds me of Dex. He really does. Let's hope he's as good as Gennaro. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. And thank you for joining in. Morrow, I should call the Teddies Sherry. Ding, ding. Nice. I like that. Great show. Thank you, Anthony. Much appreciated, mate. Steve, I like Potts, but when will he play? Maybe during cup games. David, is it just me, or is Conor Gallagher and Mason Mount both bang average? I wanted Gallagher at West Ham, but apparently he won't play against Chelsea. That's how much he loves them so much. Paul, youngster loans, Forbes, Bristol Rovers, played 25 minutes. Yes, I know. I will do a show about the youngsters. Leon, Mount had 2 golden seasons at Chelsea. After that, bang average. No problem at all. Thank you, Mojo. Much appreciated. Paul, Kelly on loan at Doncaster, Marshall on loan at Huddersfield. I will give you an update on all of them. That's it, people. Thank you so much. Really appreciated your comments and everything, joining in. Really appreciated. If you've yet to become a subscriber, do subscribe to the channel. If you've yet to hit the like button, please hit the like button. My thanks to the moderators looking after the chat looking after the chat in the chat. Have a great week. I'll be back again with more shows, more transfer stories to talk about, etc. Have a good week, and I'll see you all very soon.